I was born in the Bronx and raised in the Orthodox Jewish tradition. My family had an apartment in the same large 6-story building as my grandparents, the same building that my mother grew up in. My Aunt Fanny and Uncle Jaime lived down the hall. I come from a long line of worriers. My caring, loving family stressed about everything. Since they escaped from Europe, lived through the Great Depression and World War II, they had a perfect right to. The light at the end of the tunnel had often been an oncoming train. Slowly, I gained confidence that I could handle new situations, like going to the University of Pittsburgh to get my doctorate, or moving to Dallas to further my career. I had only gotten a small dose of the worry gene. I met Beth while doing volunteer work for an arts fundraising organization called the 500 Inc. I'd like to say it was love at first sight, but it was probably lust. The love came later. Beth had a 6-year-old son. I hadn't thought much about having kids, but I knew her son was part of the package. How hard could being an evil stepfather be? A year into our marriage, just after Thanksgiving, I got home and found a note. I took Beth to the emergency room, fever of 103. When I got to the hospital, I found a scared kid and a mom trying to keep him calm. There were tests, lots of waiting, wondering, boredom, and fear. Rory was in a panic about the needles, or as he put it, cutting his arm open and taking out his blood. I said something about the doctors sending in the good ninjas to fight the bad ones. Pretty lame, but it was what I had. This was just the beginning of a month of tests, MRIs, and surgeries, a month of Rory being sick, uncomfortable, and scared, a month of dealing with not knowing, and a month of watching Beth in pain when there was nothing I can do to help. The only way I could make things better was to suppress my worry gene, keep calm, and present the illusion that it was all under control. I would walk around the mall after work until I could come home with a happy face. I became very good at expressing well-reasoned but optimistic viewpoints. We finally got the diagnosis: osteomyelitis, a bone infection that's nasty but treatable. We got out of the hospital just before Hanukkah, or as Beth and Rory referred to it, Christmas. What followed was 4 weeks of intravenous antibiotics infused 4 times a day. But Rory was having severe leg pain when he should have been better. We knew there was something wrong, but what? Beth took him down to Children's Medical Center for another opinion. We got a call at 6 a.m. Beth answered, listened, and turned to me and said, "It's leukemia." I thought, this is going to be hell. This really hit Beth hard. When Beth was in high school, her mother died of leukemia. With no plan, no experience, I had no alternative but to buckle up, hang on, and do the best I could for Beth and Rory. I was on the ragged edge. Now, if you're going to deal with childhood cancer, Children's is the best place in the world to be. It was our first rodeo, but it wasn't theirs. They had a plan, not just to cure him, but to get us all through it. They told us that the cure rate was 81% for this type of leukemia. Not the dismal downward spiral that I had thought. They told us about the 3-year treatment plan that had lots of unpleasant things like hair loss, nausea, spinal taps, chemotherapy, and testicular biopsies. We were told that Rory was going to be a survivor. This wasn't meant as a guarantee. It was but a mental state we needed to get through it. We felt guilty, especially Beth because of her mother. The folks at Children's told us, nothing you did could have caused this. Nothing you could have done could have prevented it. They told us the progress was going to have ups and downs. He would get better and then worse. We should enjoy the ups and not overreact to the downs. I felt very alone, but not for long. We had a whole team of people to help us, not just Rory, but all of us. Things that we didn't expect, like the nurse that went to Rory's school to talk to his class, or the folks from Child Life who worked with us to help understand what Rory was dealing with both physically and mentally. We became friends with other patients and shared the journey. Matt was a great kid. He had a fantastic attitude and a world-class smile. He had a brain tumor. The doctor succeeded in stopping it. We were so happy for him and his family. But the treatments left his body weak. He died a few weeks later. At Matt's funeral, his mother hugged me and said, "Rory is going to be a survivor." I don't know where she got the courage to say that, but I thank God she did. People would say, "I can't imagine how you deal with it." Well, for me, the key was understanding that normal took on a whole new meaning. Holding Rory when he was quivering in pain with a needle in his spine was normal. Taking him to the hospital in the middle of the night was normal. And treating him as if he were normal when nothing was normal. We just did what we had to do. As Rory went through the treatments, things got progressively easier. His hair grew back, a trivial but visible sign. Blood tests and transfusions became things we took in stride. 3 years later, we were with the same doctor who gave us the initial diagnosis. He said, "Rory's blood is normal. His bone marrow is normal. He is free from any evidence of leukemia." I told you he was going to be a survivor. The piano I was carrying was suddenly lifted. Physically, I felt as if I were floating. Rory is now 32 years old, lives in New York, loves his life, his wife, and his work. He is currently on his honeymoon in Italy. I took strength where I can find it, and I thank God that was a lot to find. I have new heroes, the parents and kids who shared the journey with us, the doctors and nurses who gave us back our son. That cure rate is over 90%, 91% and rising now. Some of the strength I got from my family who brought me up right and gave me the tools to cope. And sometimes you just have to have hope and have certainty that the path is right, even if the outcome is uncertain. It brought Rory, Beth, and I closer. At his college graduation, Rory was taking pictures with his dad and motioned for me to come over. He said, "I want a picture with both my dads."